The knock came on a quiet evening, and everything shifted. It was the kind of knock that didn't rush. 3 soft taps, careful, thoughtful, almost hesitant. Emma was standing at the kitchen sink when she heard it. The window above the counter reflected her tired eyes back at her. She hadn't been expecting anyone. Across the room, Daniel looked up from the couch. He muted the television without thinking. Somehow, he already knew. When Emma opened the door, her brother stood there with a small travel bag in one hand. Ethan smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes, not the way it used to. "Well," Ethan said gently, "I hope I'm not too early." Emma froze for half a second before pulling him into a hug. He smelled like road dust and familiar memories, like home and distance mixed together. Daniel joined them in the doorway, offering a quiet nod. It had been almost 3 years since they'd last seen Ethan in person. Too many holidays missed, too many phone calls cut short. They moved into the living room, settling into their old rhythm. Coffee was poured. The lights stayed low. Ethan sat on the edge of the armchair, hands clasped. He looked around as if memorizing everything. The framed photos, the throw blanket Emma loved, the small shelf Daniel had built himself. "You've done well," Ethan said softly. There was pride in his voice, and something else beneath it. Emma smiled, but her chest felt tight. Ethan had always been the observant one. The one who noticed what others skipped over. Their daughter, Lily, peeked around the corner. 8 years old, curious eyes, bare feet padding softly on the floor. "Uncle Ethan?" she asked. His face lit up then, fully and honestly. "There's my favorite girl." She ran into his arms, and for a moment, everything felt warm again, like the past hadn't slipped away so quickly. Dinner was simple, soup and bread, comfort food. They talked about safe things. Work, the long drive, how fast Lily was growing. But under every sentence sat an unspoken weight. Emma felt it. Daniel felt it too. After Lily went to bed, Ethan cleared his throat. He leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. "There's a reason I came," he said. The room went still. Emma folded her hands in her lap. Daniel straightened slightly, bracing himself. "I know," Emma said quietly. "You wouldn't just show up like this." Ethan nodded. "I didn't want to say anything over the phone." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "I've been sorting through Dad's old storage unit." Emma's breath caught. Daniel glanced at her. "That place was supposed to be empty," Emma said. "They told us everything was cleared." "That's what I thought too," Ethan replied. But there was a box, tucked behind a broken cabinet. He reached into his bag and pulled out a worn envelope. The edges were soft with age. "I haven't opened it yet," he said. "I thought we should do it together." Emma stared at the envelope. Her name was written across the front in careful handwriting, her father's handwriting. Daniel placed a steady hand on her back. She hadn't realized she was shaking. "Why now?" she whispered. Ethan met her gaze. "Because I think what's inside explains a lot." The room felt smaller, the air heavier. Ethan stood and placed the envelope on the table, between the coffee cups, between the life being new and something else waiting underneath. "I think this letter tells the truth about why Dad made the choices he did," Ethan said, "and why our family was pushed in a direction none of us understood." Emma swallowed hard. Her father had been gone for years, but his silence still echoed. Unanswered questions, quiet regrets. Daniel squeezed her hand. "Whatever it is," he said, "we'll face it together." Ethan gave a small, grateful smile. Outside, the wind brushed against the windows. Inside, 3 hearts waited. Emma reached for the envelope but stopped just short. Some truths couldn't be unheard. Some moments changed everything. If you're enjoying this story so far, please like the video and subscribe for more heartfelt tales.
Emma finally wrapped her fingers around the envelope. Her hands trembled as she looked at her brother. "What if this changes how we see everything?" she asked. Ethan didn't answer right away. He just nodded once. And in that silence, Emma realized the visit hadn't brought closure. It had brought a beginning. Some letters don't wait.
Emma stopped reading. Daniel looked at her, confused. "What does that mean?" he asked gently. She shook her head, eyes glossy. "I don't know yet." Ethan spoke up for the first time. "Keep going," he said softly. "I think this part matters." Emma nodded and read on. "I worried you would repeat what I did, putting responsibility before truth," smiling while slowly drifting apart. Daniel's jaw tightened. He hadn't realized someone else saw that strain too. Emma swallowed. "I wanted to tell you about the choice I made when you were younger, the one that changed everything." The room went still again. Emma turned to Ethan. "You didn't read this?" He shook his head quickly. "No, I promised myself I wouldn't." She took a breath and continued. "I was offered a path that would have given us more stability, more money, more certainty." Daniel frowned slightly. They had never struggled badly, but there had been years that felt thin. "I turned it down," the letter read, "because it required me to walk away from someone I loved deeply, someone I never spoke of again." Emma's heart pounded. Ethan looked up sharply. "What?" he whispered. Emma read the next line slowly. "It wasn't an affair. It wasn't betrayal. It was a choice between loyalty and comfort." Daniel leaned back, absorbing the words. He could hear the ache behind them. "I chose loyalty, but I chose silence too. And that silence followed me for the rest of my life." Emma felt tears spill over. Her father had carried this alone. "I see now how my silence shaped you," the letter continued. "How it taught you to carry burdens quietly, to protect others at your own expense." Daniel reached for Emma's hand. It fit perfectly into his. Ethan wiped his eyes with the back of his sleeve. "I never knew," he said. Emma finished the letter. "If you're reading this together, then maybe you're already doing better than I did. Please don't repeat my mistake. Speak. Choose honesty before distance chooses you." The letter ended simply, "With all my love, Dad." No one spoke for a long moment. The clock ticked softly in the background, life continuing, unaware of the shift that had just occurred. Daniel finally broke the silence. "He was talking about us," he said quietly. Emma nodded. "I think he saw something we didn't want to admit." Ethan stood and paced the room slowly. "He carried that alone for decades," he said, "and it shaped all of us." Emma felt a strange mix of grief and clarity. Her father hadn't been cold. He had been afraid. Daniel squeezed her hand. "Emma," he said gently, "what part of this feels unfinished to you?" She hesitated, then answered honestly. "The part about choosing loyalty," she said, "and what it costs when you don't speak." Ethan stopped pacing. "There's more," he said suddenly. They both turned to him. "There was something else in the storage unit," Ethan continued. "Not in the box." Emma's heart skipped. "What was it?" she asked. Ethan swallowed. "A photograph," he said, "and a name none of us have ever heard." The room filled with questions again, with the sense that the letter was only the beginning. Emma felt the familiar pull of truth approaching, closer now, impossible to ignore. Some truths don't arrive loudly. They wait patiently, knowing they can't stay hidden forever. Ethan reached back into his bag and pulled out a folded photograph. The paper looked old, almost fragile, like it had been handled many times, then carefully tucked away. He placed it on the table without a word. Emma leaned forward first. Her breath caught the moment she saw it. The photo showed her father standing beside a woman they didn't recognize. They weren't touching, but they were close.
too close to be accidental, too careful to be careless. The woman had kind eyes and a calm smile, the kind of smile that suggested understanding rather than excitement. Daniel studied the image quietly. "This doesn't look like a secret," he said. "It looks like respect." Ethan nodded. "That's what struck me too." Emma turned the photo over. A name was written on the back in the same familiar handwriting. "Margaret," she read aloud. No last name, just that. "I searched for her," Ethan said gently. "Not deeply, just enough to see if the name meant anything." Emma looked up sharply. "And?" Ethan hesitated. "She lived a few towns over. She passed away 5 years ago." Emma felt a strange ache.
Grief for someone she had never known, someone who had clearly mattered. "There's more," Ethan added. "I spoke to someone who knew her." Daniel's eyebrows lifted slightly. "You did?" Ethan nodded. "A neighbor, an older woman. She remembered Dad." Emma's heart began to race. "She said Margaret talked about him often," Ethan continued. "Not with regret, with gratitude." Emma closed her eyes briefly. "She said he helped her through a difficult chapter," Ethan said. "That he encouraged her to stay when leaving would have been easier." Daniel leaned back slowly. "So loyalty," he murmured. Emma opened her eyes again. Her father's words echoed in her mind. Loyalty over comfort. "She never married," Ethan added, "but she lived well, taught music, volunteered, loved deeply from what I was told." The room fell quiet again. Emma felt her chest tighten, not with jealousy or anger, but understanding. Her father hadn't chosen silence because of guilt. He had chosen it because the story was complicated. Daniel spoke carefully. "He thought keeping this hidden would protect you." Emma nodded slowly. "But it taught me something else instead." Ethan watched her closely. "What's that?" "That love means carrying everything alone," Emma said softly. "And that's not true." Daniel reached for her hand again. This time she held on tighter. Ethan exhaled. "There's one more thing," he said. Emma's heart sank and lifted at the same time. Truth had a rhythm now. It kept coming.
"There was a letter addressed to me," Ethan said. Shorter, different tone. He pulled out another envelope. "I wasn't sure if I should share it," he said. "But after tonight, I think I should." Emma nodded. "Please." He opened it and read aloud. "He told me to come if I ever felt our family was drifting. He said distance doesn't announce itself. It just grows." Daniel swallowed. "He told me Emma would be the anchor," Ethan continued, "but even anchors need checking." Emma blinked back tears. "He asked me to remind you both," Ethan read, "that love needs courage, not perfection." The letter ended there. Ethan folded it carefully and placed it beside the photograph. Emma felt something shift inside her, not pain, permission. Daniel broke the silence. "Emma," he said, "have you felt like we've been drifting?" She didn't answer right away. Honesty asked for a pause. "Yes," she admitted finally. "Not away from love, just away from truth." Daniel nodded. "I feel it too." They looked at each other then, really looked. No blame, no fear. Ethan smiled softly. "That's why I came," he said. "Not to reopen old wounds, but to stop new ones from forming." Emma reached across the table and hugged her brother, grateful, relieved. Outside, the night deepened. Inside, something lightened. Later, after Ethan went to bed, Emma and Daniel sat together in the quiet. No television. No distractions. "Do you think your dad would be at peace now?" Emma thought about Margaret, about silence, about courage. "I think he would be," she said, "especially if we listen." Daniel squeezed her hand once more. "We will." But as Emma stared at the photograph again, one thought lingered. If one hidden truth could shape so much, what would honesty reshape next? Morning arrived quietly, like it was cautious not to disturb the revelations of the night. Sunlight filtered through the curtains in soft golden slivers. Emma stood by the window, sipping tea, her mind still on the photograph and letters. Daniel joined her, bringing a small smile and the scent of fresh coffee. "We should visit Margaret's town," he said gently. "See the places she loved, understand her world." Emma nodded. It felt right, almost necessary, not just to honor Margaret, but to understand the man their father had been. Ethan, already awake, joined them in the kitchen. "Good idea," he said. "I went to the town once when I was younger. It's quiet, charming, like a memory waiting to be noticed." They packed lightly for the short drive. Lily insisted on coming along, clutching her little backpack filled with crayons and notebooks. Her curiosity was infectious. The drive was filled with soft conversation, moments of reflection, and laughter, small and steady, that reminded them all of simpler times. When they arrived, the town felt like it existed in another pace of life. Cobblestone streets, flower boxes in every window, old music floating from an open cafe.
Ethan guided them to the library first. The older woman who had spoken to him before was there again, now with a warm smile. "She's here," Ethan said softly. "She wanted to meet you." Emma's heart beat faster. She approached slowly, hand extended. The woman's grip was firm, yet kind. "I've heard so much about you," the woman said, "and your father. He was remarkable, you know." Emma nodded, words catching in her throat. "I wish I'd known him like you did." "You have now," the woman said gently, "through these stories, through courage, through seeing love carried quietly, but always fully." They walked through the town together, Lily skipping ahead. They visited the small music school Margaret had taught at, the little park she had loved, and the cafe where she had spent many afternoons reading. With each place, Emma felt a sense of clarity, not just about her father, but about what it meant to carry love, responsibility, and truth, and how silence sometimes protects, but honesty heals. Later, as they sat on a bench overlooking a small fountain, Ethan turned to them. "There's something else I think we need to consider," he said quietly. Emma leaned in. "I'm ready," she said. He took a deep breath. "It's about the family business. The decisions Dad made, he was trying to shield us from mistakes he had seen before, that maybe shielding isn't enough anymore." Daniel frowned. "What do you mean?" Ethan gestured to the old offices across the street. "The time has come to be open about it, to make choices together as a family, not as children following footsteps blindly." Emma felt a swell of both apprehension and hope. They could finally step into a space of truth, of joint decisions, of clarity. That evening, back at home, they gathered in the living room. Ethan had brought a few documents, letters, and even some sketches from their father's old plans. Lily fell asleep on the couch, exhausted but content. "We need to talk about what we want for the future," Ethan said softly. "Not the past, not regrets, but forward." Emma nodded, gripping Daniel's hand. This conversation felt like a turning point, a chance to honor the past while shaping the next chapter. Hours passed. They spoke of dreams, of fears, of what responsibility truly meant. And in the gentle exchange, something shifted. A weight lifted. Hope settled quietly in its place. But just as they were wrapping up, Ethan paused. His eyes fell on something folded on the table, a small envelope he hadn't noticed before. "I don't know where this came from," he said, "but it has your father's handwriting." Emma's heart stuttered. Even now, after everything, there was still another secret waiting. One last truth hiding quietly, ready to change everything again. Emma's fingers trembled as she picked up the envelope. It was thin, delicate, as though it had been waiting years for this moment. Ethan leaned closer. "Maybe this is the final piece," he said softly. "Whatever it is, we'll face it together." Daniel nodded, his hand finding Emma's once more. The three of them gathered around the coffee table, hearts steady but alert. Emma carefully opened the envelope. Inside was a letter, smaller than the others, written on crisp, cream-colored paper. The handwriting was unmistakable. Their father's. She began to read aloud. "My dear children," it began. "If you are reading this, you have already discovered parts of my past. You have learned of choices, loyalty, and the love I carried quietly. But there is one truth I kept even closer to my heart. A truth about us and the direction I hoped our family would take. I wanted you to know that every decision I made, every silence I maintained, was because I believed in your strength. I trusted you to carry our family forward with honesty, courage, and love. I hoped that one day you would see clearly how to navigate life together, without letting fear or pride guide your steps. I hoped you would build something stronger than I ever could alone. If you find yourselves at a crossroads, remember this. Speak openly. Love fiercely. Protect each other, not by hiding, but by facing the truth together. You are my greatest pride and my deepest hope for the future." Emma lowered the letter, her eyes glistening with tears. Daniel exhaled slowly, feeling the weight of years of silence lift from his chest. Ethan's eyes were shiny, but steady, full of understanding.
For a long moment, no one spoke. The room felt lighter. The past was finally acknowledged, and the future felt wide open, waiting for them. Daniel was the first to break the silence. "Emma, Ethan, we can do this," he said quietly. "Whatever decisions we face them together." Emma smiled through tears. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, together." Ethan reached out, placing a hand over theirs. "The family we have now," he said, "can finally honor the one we had and create something even stronger." They spent the rest of the evening reflecting on everything: the letters, the photograph, the life lessons hidden in silence. They shared memories, laughed quietly at small stories of their father's quirks, and found joy in simply being together. By the time Lily woke in the morning, the air in the house had changed. It felt warmer, lighter, full of possibilities. Emma tucked the letters and photographs safely into a box, a small treasure chest of guidance and love. Every time she glanced at it, she would remember: truth matters, love matters, family matters. And just like that, the family's direction had shifted, not because of one revelation alone, but because they had chosen to face the past together. Ethan smiled, looking around at the two people he had grown up alongside. "This is the beginning," he said softly. "A new chapter, and we get to write it ourselves." Emma and Daniel nodded, hands entwined. Hope wasn't just a feeling anymore. It was a plan, a shared purpose.
A promise to live openly, honestly, and together. Outside, the sun rose fully, spilling light across the streets. It was the kind of morning that promised growth, understanding, and new beginnings. And in the house, laughter mingled with quiet reflection, marking the start of a family forever changed. The truth had arrived, and it had brought them home.